All right. Hey, you guys. It's another week. Today we're live again on the Dr. G show. We can say Dr. G and the boss. And,
I'm the boss tonight.
Scott's the boss. Welcome to the show, you guys. And make sure that as you guys come on that you like it and that you share this with your friends and family. Again, all of this. All of this.
All of it's
free information. You know.
Lots of free information.
And as you guys have questions, feel free to post those. Even after the show, even after it's recorded, feel free to post those. I'll always go back and try to answer all those questions, which I might have a couple left from last time.
Come to find out.
Maybe. So I'll try, right? So as you guys have those, just keep them going. Hi, Catherine. Good to have you on.
Hi, Tracy.
Oh, Tracy.
Tracy Hold'em. What? Wise minder.
I had martinis with him, and he tried to drink a gimlet, but it was too strong, so he gave it to me.
All right.
And apparently 3 martinis is too much.
That sounds like a lot for me.
Yeah. So last week we had a really good show, and we talked about something that was pretty important, pretty vital. I've talked about it quite a few times, but that's cholesterol myth is killing you and your family. And we talked about how detrimental that is. That's that, like the other 75 shows probably are archived on Facebook video under me. So you can always go back and look at those. And then next week, we're going to try to have on a special guest. We're going to see if Suzanne will come on and kind of talk about her life changes.
Changes in life that change your life.
That's what I'm talking about.
You have time to work out the title.
That's like we went to Jasmine's party and they had mashed potatoes in the martini glasses.
Right.
So then it was like
the tater-teeny.
The tater-teeny.
Tater-teeny.
And then we came out with the tiny tater. No.
Yeah.
Teeny tiny tater-teenies.
What he said.
That was great. So life-changing changes. That's
perfect.
Sounds good. All right.
You know what we mean.
So tonight we have a special guest, and he's not here right now, so Scott will...
Oh, no. So I'm filling in. Yeah, this special guest couldn't make it.
Yeah, so we have Scott, who is awesome, just like Tracy's like, yo, Spatten.
Spatten combo.
Spatten combo. What?
I got a new nickname.
What's your thing called? The Spradlin effect?
Sprad factor.
Sprad factor.
My priest, Father Paul, calls me Sprad factor.
Sprad factor. Yeah, you're Orthodox, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what that really means. Old school?
Really old school. Yeah, we say we're not non-denominational Christians. We're pre-denominational Christians.
Oh, that's very nice.
There's something for you to wrap your head around.
Yeah. So, Scott, I met him when you were first putting on your meditation mindful group.
Right. Wise Mind and the Good Life.
Wise
Mind. What we call it.
That's the best title ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you keep changing it now, don't you? As we change. Were you changing that?
No, I'm not changing it. I think the idea is I've started out with sort of the concept of integrating, kind of mashing up mindfulness meditation concepts from Zen practices with dialectical behavior therapy concepts and Western Greek philosophical concept of eudaimonia, or the good life, and what is human flourishing, and kind of mash those things up. That's kind of the idea, so that we cultivate wisdom is what we're doing with our meditation, and we open ourselves up to discovering what is it that best nourishes us as human beings and gives us spaciousness and maturity and joy and all that good stuff.
You know what I love about you?
What's that?
I had 12 years of grad school, tons and tons of education, and like very few people could out-talk me, but I have no earthly idea half the time with what you're saying. Like you speak a whole different language of science that I don't even like recognize that. You know that?
That's what I hear you saying.
It's very humbling. Right?
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
there's lots that you know that I don't know. So we learn from each other.
That's right. Yeah. That's how it should be.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, so we'll talk about mindfulness.
Yeah.
Meditation.
Yeah.
mindful practices like mindful eating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as you guys have questions, feel free to post those. I see Joan's on here. Hey, Joan. And please share this with your friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll probably talk about a little bit of research too. So, when I first met you, I think it was Holly. So Holly, who used to be the boss on the show,
Right.
Before she got all high and mighty with her corporate wellness.
Yeah, corporate wellness. I guess they need the help there too.
She got too big for us. Which, by the way, she's doing fabulous there.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that.
That's a perfect job for her. So she's changing lives at the corporate level now. And so I had just gone through a crazy, horrible divorce. Holly was a good friend. She was doing the wellness talks with me long before that when I was affiliated. And man, it just rocked my world because of the kids. Divorce was good. It was hey, you're free from all this craziness. So yeah, you're going to screw on the kids to take all your money. And then it was just okay, that's not going to work out. So I was crying for a long time.
Yeah.
With the girls, missing my girls, I was crying pretty much all the time. And crying on the way to work, crying on the way home, trying not to cry with patients. In case I have a patient that would be how's it going, Dr. G? And I'd be don't, it's fine. It's all fine. And I had a patient once that started crying about her situation because she's going through a divorce and all the kids stuff. And then I started crying. I was just what in the hell? So I needed something in my life. And I had always told patients, you got to do meditation. You got to do mindfulness. You got to be very fully present in what you're doing, all these kind of things. But like most docs, I was not practicing what I preach, right?
Yeah.
So it's this is what you people need because y'all crazy and y'all need help. But then when I was crazy and needed help, it worked out. And so Holly invited me to that group, and I really didn't know what to expect. And I'm more of I don't know, facts in black and white kind of person. The idea of even yoga, meditation wasn't in my comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And so I remember I felt kind of awkward about it, and it was great. I think that was maybe it's the first day you would I can't remember her name, but the poem about the box of darkness.
Oh, Mary Oliver's.
Mary Oliver.
The title of the poem is "The Uses of Sorrow." Brackets. I dreamed this poem in my sleep, and then it goes like this, I believe. Someone that once loved me gave me a box of darkness. It took me years to discover that this too was a gift.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, the place where I was at, that really spoke to me. That was the exact right words I needed to kind of reconcile everything. Because even though, with the trauma that I was going through, it was darkness. And I couldn't see my way out because, again, it's just you start over, you have no money, where's your kids at? You see them every day, and then now you suddenly don't see them. And, it just felt dark and overwhelming and helpless and powerless. And I remember hearing that, and I thought, yeah, but that darkness really is a gift. And eventually it'll pay off, but not being in that horrible situation was that gift. Mm-hmm. And then I told you that one day I was driving and she was driving next to me and she has a black Camry.
Oh, okay.
Well, we own a black Camry.
Okay.
She's driving a black Camry and she passed by me and I was like, holy crap, because the license plate says GYN, gynecologist. And so pretty easy to recognize. And then I remember just this kind of anxiety of just oh, this person, she's doing all these horrible things, saying these terrible things. And that was just darkness. And then I was just I put my foot to the pedal, passed her, and in my rearview mirror, I watched that. It was literally a box of darkness. The car was black. There's a box of darkness, and I watched it just disappear. And I remember smiling and thinking, I freaking love mindfulness. I love this class.
Wow, that's pretty big.
And then there was two others that I really liked. So you did another one, because you would do the mindfulness and meditation, but you always had these really profound things to talk about. And like one of them was, and you can tell us the story
Sure.
if you remember, but it's the fish,
Mm-hmm.
and the one said, "How's the water today?"
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Well, basically, we spent a morning reading the transcription of David Foster Wallace's graduation speech, I think, to Kenyon College a number of years back before he passed away. But basically, it's called "This Is Water," and some of you might be familiar with it. And it's basically, it opens with a story about there are two young fish swimming through the water in one direction, and then says their older fish comes swimming by in the opposite direction, and the older fish says to the younger fish, "Hey, boys, how's the water today?" And they keep cruising along, and as they get down the way a bit, they're like, "Hey, what the hell is water?" And then he leads into just basically talk about there's so much that we have been conditioned to believe about ourselves and culture and emotions and others, and it's often very egoistic, but it's a given, and we don't see our thoughts of we don't see our thoughts for what they are. It's the water. The fish doesn't know that it's wet.
Right.
We don't know that our thoughts are just thoughts until we stop and pay attention. We start cultivating awareness to, oh, this is a thought that I'm having. And for example, kind of mangle a paraphrase. There's such a maybe. Paraphrasing is already mangling an author, but to mangle the paraphrase further would be, he uses an example, which I think we can all relate with. You're in the grocery store, you're kind of in a hurry on a Friday afternoon. You get that cart, and you got the one with the squeaky wheel, and that starts to irritate you a little bit. It's always my cart. I thought it was just me. And David Foster Wallace. Maybe it was your cart too. You're cruising along, and you're in a hurry. You know what you want, and suddenly there's this little old lady in front of you.
Oh yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I just had this little moment of like, obstacle, and you're frustrated because you don't even stop for a moment to consider this as a human being who's just minding her own business,
right,
trying to shop, has no idea that you're behind her being frustrated. And so again, this whole thing about mindfulness, that was leading us into a discussion about if we pay attention to what we're thinking, we can know what kind of thoughts we have and know that we don't have to believe everything we think.
Right.
Yeah. And we can get out of the water a little bit, or at least we know we're in the water.
And in neurobiology, your body desensitizes. Like they talk about your body desensitizes to the constants. So like most people can't feel a ring that they wear every day. Most people don't think, oh, I'm wearing pants today, or when I don't have my glasses on, or you might have done this before, where you go like this.
Oh yeah.
You're like, oh,
my glasses.
I'm not wearing glasses today, right? And so you just get so used to it that your body desensitizes to it, and then it becomes that water. It becomes those things that you don't notice. And one of the horrible experiments that they did that to me always reminded me of what you were saying was they took a room and they electrified half of the floor to switch A, electrified the other half of the floor to switch B, and they put a dog in there because this is what we do to experiment, right? So they turned floor A on, and it electrified the dog, gave him shocks. So the dog moved to floor B because there's less pain, and when we perceive that there's choice, we always try to most people tend to choose happiness, unless you're related to me, and then they always choose misery. But not me, but the rest.
Yeah. Well, maybe they need some meditation.
So then, if they switched on floor B and switched off floor A, the dog would then move back to floor A, where there was less pain. But if they turn on both switches and electrified the whole floor, something very profound happened. The dog initially freaked the hell out, of course, but eventually it became the water. It became normal. The dog would go to sleep being shocked, eat, drink, act completely like, I'm not getting electrocuted every day.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times with patients, it's like, what's your stress level? Oh, I do fine. I'm not stressed. Well, then I talked about that experiment, and I talked about how we have sometimes what is it? Oh, shoot, if I'm going to remember. We kind of conform. We have an abnormal, normal life. Like, it's normal to have a headache every day, right? That's normal. It's normal to be a little anxious every day. It's normal to fight with everybody every day. That's normal. But that's not normal. That is, I'm conditioned to that's normal.
Right.
That becomes your water of chaos that then consumes you, and you don't even know it's there.
Kind of like a default operating system.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just running in the background. It's just there. And,
And so once you know that, though, then you can like make changes to that.
Right.
But only once you realize I'm in water.
Right.
Or this isn't normal. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you get some sort of spark of light or joy or relief or connection or love, whether it's through a person, an animal, nature, God, art, food even. Food's amazing. Then maybe sometimes I think those things, poetry, this is one reason I like to use poetry at the Wise Mind group. And even in my therapy groups that I do, when we're doing DBT and mindfulness, just because it gives us a different paradigm, gives us a different way of looking at things. And
it uses different parts of the brain,
different
too.
Parts of the brain, and just more imaginative. And we tend to be a little, we tend to be a little data-driven in our digi world, and we like facts and information, and often at the cost of wisdom. Yeah. And just knowing how to actually live as a human being. Yeah. Yeah. In a way that's not pure hell every day.
America
will suffer.
Well, if you guys have questions, feel free to post them too.
Hey, Jenny Dan. I'm wearing my mayor button.
That's JV.
Yeah, that's her. Yeah.
The mayor of
Tinkletown. I've been wearing it proudly at the clinic, by the way. Thank you. Patients love it.
And Newman thinks, I'm looking skinnier. Yeah. I do the Tough Mudder.
This guy is really getting in shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this year, because of that last concept that really was profound was, and you have to help me with it, but it was something like growth through annihilation.
Ooh, yeah.
But there's a different phrase for it.
I don't remember how we put it exactly because I'm often pulling from other sources, but it's kind of embracing annihilation in order to sort of have, I think, maybe to kind of, I hope it's not too spoon-fed, but, kind of difficulties and challenges. If we lean into them, whether it's death or divorce, loss of a profession, animal dies, we get all the red lights today, whatever it happens to be, whether it's on a minor side of the scale or, more intense and large. We can discover a lot about ourselves, again, if we're paying attention. Yeah. Wow, I just really said or did this thing that's the opposite of what I really value. I'm paying attention so that I can make repair if it's a relationship injury. I can cultivate humility, self-reflect, and then realize that maybe, like through a divorce, I'm a divorced person, you're going through one. It's a kind of death. It's kind of an annihilation. It's kind of a defeat in some ways.
It is an
annihilation of an identity as a married person, depending on how long you've been married. And then you have some time where you recombinate, so to speak, into the single, Dr. G, single Scott, and then, we kind of get reoriented into new life. It's amazing, isn't it? There's reasons. I'm sure some of you know. Yeah.
What kind of reasons?
Well, we can have tea afterwards.
So,
but then what I'm getting at is that through that annihilation, then we can let go of old fixed ideas that we have that have kept us stuck in a lot of ways. We can let go of old attachments to old behaviors that we've been stuck in. If we lean into that annihilation and pain and those sorts of things and realize that, even through death, there's a life cycle, just like there is with the seasons as well of fall. Because there is a bright death, which was the name of our meeting last week. Because of the bright leaves that are falling from the trees, and they glisten as they fall to the ground. But then
I wasn't at that one.
Oh, that's right.
I had my girls.
Oh, you had your girls, yeah.
God dang it.
Should have recorded it. We'll probably use it back
then. Yeah.
But anyway, that's the idea. Yeah. So it's kind of like these experiences that really can, kind of like, kind of winnow. It's kind of like a winnowing fork. Let's get the chaff out. Let's get off what's inauthentic about ourselves and become more integrated. If we're willing to again experience painful things and realize that they're not Absolutely, 100%, and ultimately catastrophic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what, like, Newman's talking about, you know, I'm looking at healthier and skinnier and stuff. But that annihilation, again, that, like, spoke to me so deeply at the right time, because you know, you're kind of told while you're in relationships, like, who you are, and you just kind of believe it. If it's a bad relationship, you're told these bad things, and you're just like, really? Am I bad? Like, I don't feel like I'm a bad person. Right. Like, are you sure? And but once it's annihilated, like I felt like my life was annihilated with the whole girls situation with the children and the finances and just how horrific everything ended up. And like, but through that annihilation, I felt like, well, I could just become authentic me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm no longer bound by all those kind of like things that I've been told, and kind of emotional beatdown and emotionally like stunted. And so that's what in the first of the year, or no, sorry, first of summer, I was like, you know, I posted all my food on Facebook, and I said, look, I'm going to eat only healthy. I'm going to do exactly what I tell my patients, because there's no one there to say, oh, you're getting healthy? Well, you're not doing it the right way. You're doing this, well, you're not doing it the right way. You're running, you're not doing it the right way. You should really do yoga this way. You should do this. There's none of that, just emotional baggage left or tearing apart, because it's all nice. It's all annihilated. The whole town's blitzkrieged. Yeah,
and so that's another way that annihilation, we might be freed from toxic relationships.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I was just like, I'm going to eat healthy. Which I did. Yeah. And this 5 months, no fast food, no junk food, no candy. Mostly no, I almost all no wheat, dairy. Like everything I tell patients do, I did. Yeah. And I eat very raw, simple kind of things, and I post on Facebook, so I had transparency. And then I decided, well, I'm going to start running. So Donna, who's usually on here, I think she's on here, you know, she kept pushing me and said, oh, I see a lot of you're posting a lot of food things, but I don't see you posting anything about moving. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, and I posted a thing about the Tough Mudder, and then she said, posting about the Tough Mudder isn't the same as doing the Tough Mudder. And I was like, fair enough. So I signed up for it, which is next week. But then they were doing Couch to 5K. So I was like, I'll do Couch to 5K. So then I started running every other day. And then with my friend, I started doing rock climbing every other weekend. And then I started doing yoga. And so I'm actually doing 30 days of yoga now. And it's amazing. Like I posted a picture of where I used to be and where I am now. And did you see that?
We all saw that picture, didn't we, folks?
Well, it was embarrassing. But
Dr. G's got some guns on him.
But I was like, my chest muscles were further out than my tummy, which was the first time.
Did we notice? Anybody else? Am I the only one that noticed this?
I had to Photoshop underwear on the picture to keep it, you know, PG. Okay. But it's amazing because I really get to be this whole person, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without annihilation, without that box of darkness that set it off, and without realizing that I was in water that was toxic.
Yeah.
And that I could change those things. And I'm telling you, I owe you the hugest debt of gratitude, because although I preached all that stuff, I never did it. And to be with those right tribe people at the right time and the people I connected with, it made all the difference to where I started waking up happy. The whole world's still falling apart with the divorce stuff.
Yeah.
It's still horrific.
Yeah.
But I go to sleep smiling. I wake up smiling. Like I'm happy.
Yeah.
Like I'm truly, truly, truly happy. And I don't think I would have ever had that. Ever. I would, and even now, like the idea of like thinking about mindful eating, when it was just like, oh, I heard another horrible thing that's going on in the divorce, and it's just like, normally I'd be like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to just eat pizza and drink soda, and what the hell, just stuff and eat my feelings. But I have that, no, I'm going to be healthy and happy. That doesn't make me healthy and happy when I do that.
Right, that hurts you.
Right, and I don't have to eat my feelings anymore. I don't have to stuff my feelings anymore. I don't have to be with people that aren't healthy. I can be with my right tribe and do my right things and be happy about it. At Debbie, like nothing's permanent, right?
Oh, she's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed.
So I want you to talk a little bit more about like your journey of kind of mindfulness and kind of meditation and even talking about like how you deal with patients, because you tell them what you do. Tell them more about what you do.
Yeah. So what I do is I'm a licensed professional counselor in Kansas. I'm also a licensed addictions counselor. So my day job is currently and has been for nearly 2 years working at Wichita Treatment Center, working with a methadone-assisted treatment program, helping folks get off of opioids and opiates. And been really great work in there because the staff and the patients have been especially welcoming of implementing dialectical behavior therapy, which is a mindfulness-based treatment, and very skills-based where mindfulness is the core skill. It's been...
Well, and most people in there, nobody does drugs because there's not problems, right?
Oh, right.
So it's huge. Like it's a huge thing to overlook.
Yeah, the folks that really that come to sign up for the DBT groups and practice the mindfulness, and especially those who end up cultivating their own daily practices between the weekly sessions. You can just visibly see the tension melting away from them. When they initially come in, you can just basically see their bodies quivering and tension and anger or withdrawals and craving, all that kind of thing, and even anger and even unintentional anger. Anger they feel bad about while they're being mad at people trying to be kind to them, and then but over a few weeks, you start to see this sort of lightening of this mood and the kind of energy that they have, and then they start talking about how, this mindfulness stuff. When I first heard you talk about it, I thought it's going to be really woo-woo, but I've never been more grounded in my life.
Yeah.
Because the breath helps me become grounded and helps me to change my reactive emotions, and it also helps me realize that all my crazy thoughts are simply thoughts and mental representations of what doesn't mean I have to act on them. And so the breathing, the practicing, the observation, the meditation, I can take that into my relations. Or if I have a craving, if I get triggered emotionally, I can do what's called surfing the urge, and all kinds of techniques and methods in that we help people learn to help them regulate their emotions, also help them learn how to bear emotional pain skillfully. And basically all of that, whether it's this, if we go kind of DBT light or mindfulness-based relapse prevention, I'd say probably the punchline of all of that is, and the selling point is, it's really a program, a misery reduction program.
Yeah.
How would you like to be less miserable?
That's what
I'm going to start with that,
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I didn't know I was signing up for that I got.
Yeah, right. Well, it is to really sell it to you. You just came in, you drank the Kool-Aid, ate the hummus. People Orthodox like to say we ate the hummus.
Yeah.
Some of you get that? No? Okay. Anyway, yeah.
So
that's what I do there. And then I'm also, of course, I'm building a program, actually, which has been spawned by the Wise Mind Group in a lot of ways. And you and Tracy and JV and other Wise Minders have been really helpful in just motivating me, like give me some courage to kind of step out and start forming that Mending House project. So we're going to
What's that about?
Mending House. Basically, the idea is we want to together. I'm kind of doing a lot of the work, but I've got all these other folks. Actually, sometimes the success is outpacing me. I got to kind of keep up with all of it because so many people have been so generous in how they're helping in so many ways. But basically, if I could try to do like kind of just a little basic summary of it, we want it to be a heart-centered, mindfulness-based education and counseling center.
Yeah.
So we want to promote all things mindfulness that are evidence-based, gold standard therapies for addictions, borderline personality disorder, suicidality, some of the real tough, clinical presentations. We want that to be provided to the public as close to all the good original stuff as we can. I think Wichita deserves that. And also another component of that will be we're going to try to raise funds through the Patreon site to have scholarship money available for folks who don't have insurance or funding to afford gold standard treatments like DBT, more jargon, and some of you know what it is, some of you know, mindfulness-based relapse prevention, mindfulness-based stress reduction, and I'd even really like to develop a mindfulness-based non-pharmacological pain management program to work with doctors in our area. to assist with some of those complex patients who are dealing with, watching the dependence thresholds for some of those painkillers, or to help folks coming out of methadone programs when they complete tapering, so they have kind of a next step to continue their success and their recovery and all that kind of thing. And right now I'm also blessed to kind of be able to get that going over in a House of Clarity, Mandy Peterson and Dr. Crosby and all the team over there. So, and they're doing all kinds of stuff with trauma and EMDR and hypnotherapy, and they're very wonderfully welcoming and a very similar mission. So that's
your whole thing.
Wordy and quick speech about all that. Did I answer it well?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
And you're filling a gap that nobody else is filling, really. And that's like, you think about okay, so people have these annihilations in their life, but they don't know what to do.
Right, sure.
So then they try to keep, like in my side, they're usually using food and distraction, basically, to cope.
Yeah.
Whereas if they go further on, then they're using things like drugs, right? But it's one of those things that you can't just address the addiction part or just address that without addressing why and give them tools to change. And I don't think we do that in America.
Right.
We don't give any tools. You think of like sexual abuse or physical abuse or kind of how emotionally toxic some people are. But all they do is pass that on to the next generation. And so everybody has these kind of scars built up and these reactionary responses, but no one ever tells them, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be like that.
Right.
You can be a healthy, whole person.
Yeah.
And even the idea of maybe you know the guy on NPR, it was this, not a yogi, it's a monk, but he wrote a book. He wrote several books, and they're all very well researched. But the last one he talked about was that you can make 30,000 neuron changes in the brain by just doing mindfulness, by just doing meditation. And so that place in your brain right here is called your amygdaloid, right?
The amygdala.
The amygdala is, in Latin, is just
almond,
right?
Yeah.
And then up here is your frontal lobe. And I can't figure out why they call this the frontal lobe of the brain. Because it's not the basal and the sidal lobes. Why is it the frontal lobe?
It's in the front.
I think you're onto something.
I'm not a doctor, but that's my guess.
So the frontal lobe is where reasoning takes place. But the amygdala, that's where fear and irrationality takes place. That's the racism part. That's the everybody's out to get me. That's the craziness.
Yeah.
But that frontal lobe is, you have the same situation, but completely different rational responses.
Yeah.
And I do this with patients to a certain point in different ways, where it's just you can be in the same situation with the same people doing the same things, but instead of that going to the part of your brain that says, everybody hates me, this is the worst, I'm never good enough, I'm not worthy, they think, you know what? I'm fine. It's not my circus, not my monkeys. I don't have to deal with their nonsense. I can just be healthy and happy.
Yeah.
And part of that's knowing that, but rewiring that brain through meditation, through yoga, through mindfulness, it's so powerful because we literally are constantly evolving our brain in either good or bad.
Yeah.
And so we're either meditating or meditating. Do you remember that one?
I don't. Jenny, is there a button for that one?
Oh, that's bullcrap, because when we talked about that in one of the things, we were going to make a t-shirt.
Oh, okay. It could be a t-shirt.
Every time we come up with a good concept, you're like, that should be a t-shirt.
T-shirt, button, a book, perhaps, a video series.
The Mayor of Tinkletown.
Featuring the Mayor of Tinkletown.
That's right.
And we get to do the UAs there.
So what about almost every single patient I have, I always tell them they need to do mindful meditation.
Yeah.
So talk about the non-drug addict, the non-trauma.
Oh yeah, sure.
Everybody had, so this is one thing I learned. Okay. I did not know this when I first started in practice. I looked at people and I thought, man, they got their shit together. They got it all figured out. And then they would come to see me and I'm like, why are they here? They got it all figured out. They have the perfect family.
Yeah.
On Facebook, they look amazing. And then they're just everything's falling apart. Yeah. Life sucks. I can't do it anymore.
It's like I said to a friend one time, we all look a lot more glamorous on Facebook.
Yes.
Of course, we put the nice stuff out there. We don't need to put all the ugly stuff out there. I guess there's some people who do that. Maybe it's therapeutic form, but yeah. But you're right. And the thing is that
you're talking about me.
Everybody's sort of, you're fine. You're going to the annihilation. You're going to be okay. Not you for sure. Not you for sure. You're going to make it.
I'm going to make it.
You're going to survive, bro.
All right.
But for all of us, and here's the thing is, these meditation practices, when I think about mindfulness, and if I use my super scientific hand gestures, there's an umbrella, and I consider this umbrella to be all things mindfulness, which are any practices that a human being engages in where they are cultivating intentional awareness and presence, and an awareness to the way their thoughts move around and drift, or whether the focus can drift and be divided or even fractured. And we certainly have an attention fracture syndrome pandemic here, in our modern world with all the screens everywhere. Still glad you're watching, everybody. But human beings have known this is a problem for us for thousands of years. Modern science is just really rediscovering it, repackaging it in very wonderful ways, and infusing that with modern science with ancient practices, whether they be Buddhist, Christian, Hindu, and all kinds of traditions that have in common with them meditation practices, particular kinds of martial arts, yoga, other body-centered mindfulness practices, prayer, particularly in the West with contemplative prayer, or in Eastern Orthodox Church we have a whole thing called watchfulness or nepsis, which is Eastern Christian mindfulness. And in fact, I'm giving a talk on that tomorrow night at St. George Orthodox Cathedral. I think service starts at 6:45 or so. In case you want to join us, shameless plug for that one too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it'll be a talk on comparing mindfulness meditation with the Eastern practices, or the Eastern Orthodox practices of those. And I'm going to go back to your point about kind of brain stuff that happens. Yeah, we don't have to have a full-blown substance abuse addiction or something that's life-threatening. Most people have some form of addiction, some compulsion, whether it's shopping, pornography, gambling, just spending too much. Maybe I collect shoes too much. It's the eating, and maybe I don't have a full-blown anorexia or a binge eating disorder, but still, I certainly can resonate with that. I mean, that used to be my habit a number of years ago. It's like I'm at home watching TV. What comes on? Oh, pizza commercial. That's great. Beep, boop, boop. Hey, send those 2 mediums over. And before you know it, I'm sitting there by myself, and I've eaten 2 medium pizzas. And, a few months later, wonder where all this stuff is coming from on my body. Yeah. And because I'm not being mindful, not paying attention. And so there's all kinds of ways, or if we have anger problems, or we're easily irritated by our children with whom we want to have strong emotional attachments, it's in our best interest to be attentive to how we speak to them, so that we can educate them to be grounded in their own wisdom, and to understand their own emotional experiences and be able to trust them, which helps shape their brain in all kinds of wonderful, beautiful ways to be strong, high functioning, less reactive as they get older, blah, blah, blah. So while we're practicing meditation, you were talking about how we have all these cellular developments too. And there's some, I went to a wonderful workshop here in Wichita about a year ago, and it was presented by a gal who was a yogi and a neuropsychologist. She was presenting some research that she was doing. Nice. And they had the fancy gadgets where they could do brain scans on brain structure, and they did a pre-post test on folks that were in a control group who were doing some stress management stuff, but then they had a mindfulness-based group that included some yoga practices, but definitely had the meditation practices as a forefront. Nice. After so they went through 8 weeks of this program with these folks, and what they found initially was, with the brain scans, that the meditation mindfulness group had all kinds of superior outcomes as far as like personal, subjective self-reports about reduced anxiety, irritation, reactivity, this sort of thing. But physically, they also found that there were that they had managed to even if it was so slightly, but significant enough to notice that they had shrunk the volume of their amygdala. Yeah. Yeah. That fear center. The fear center, the place where all those emotions kind of fire off and sometimes hijack the rest of the brain, right? The Texas part of the brain. I'm afraid Texas is watching, but what he said, maybe. And also then then there's other places like in all through the cortical matter. There's thickening of the cortical matter, and there's higher and more efficient functioning of the cortical matter, as well as in the hippocampus, which is back there somewhere. We want to they fattened up their hippocampus.
Yeah.
And so that's associated with compassion and learning and those sorts of things. So it's really pretty amazing, what we can do. It's just like if we're going to do push-ups or barbell curls, or like you've been working out and showing us your guns. There they come. Let me make some room for those.
Where's the gym at?
You are the gym. So it makes sense. We have this physical organ, but we're whole beings. It's not separate. We often think of the brain as sort of static or whatever, but of course we live in an age now with, if we're paying attention to science, it's plastic, it's malleable, we can change it.
Yeah.
With choosing the way we think, how we think, letting go what we think is. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think the knowledge of choice and the application of choice is what creates resiliency changes. Because it's not like so many people. I absolutely love the work that I do with patients, to where like they're completely a whole different person.
Yeah.
And I never had that until after Annihilation and the rebuilding of Patrick.
Yeah. Right. New Patrick.
Yeah. Patrick 2.0.
There you
go. I feel like more like Patrick 10.0 at this point.
Yeah, right.
Like I really do.
Yeah, accelerated upgrades.
Yeah. Yeah, but like I never really got to feel what my patients felt like, but I think that's what it feels like, that sense of normal. This is what normal and happiness should be.
Yeah. Like
the ability just to be happy all the time. And, there's only once in a while we'll have a patient that, like, they refuse to be happy. Like, they just cannot pull it together. They cannot make those changes.
Are really committed to their suffering.
Right, yeah. And once in a while you have someone that's committed to their disease. And I like that, after a while they're just like, if they make these lifestyle changes, they don't need it. But that mindfulness, like there's a good book called Fully Present. And she talks about that mindfulness isn't just meditation. It's whatever you're doing, be all about that thing.
Yep.
And so there's actually a couple applications where I did this, and it really changed my life, right? So one of them was I built my house. Right. I took an old Victorian, gutted it, I put new plumbing, new wire. I did all that work myself, right?
Yeah.
Every wall, every floor, everything. Outside, walls, doors, everything. So I had a lot of personal investment in this house. And then I had children. And then they would write all over my freaking walls. Yeah. And it just killed me. It made me so mad because I could not control it. I can't beat them, and I can't force them to not do this thing. And so it's this thing that's out of my control. But I don't want, it's just, it would kill me. And so I would come in and I'd see it, and I would just tighten up so tight, and I would just be like, my head would start throbbing. And I remember I told my friend, like, I said, I think if this keeps up, I'm going to have a stroke. Like, I could visualize a vessel popping in my head and me dying, right? And that person said, well, what would you tell a patient to do? And I was just like, because there's a whole section, eating for hormones, not exhausting hormones, and in the non-exhausting, it's the mindfulness. And I'd say, oh, well, it's not that important. Everything can be painted over. Okay, all right. Fine. So then I came home a few days later, and they're up on the staircase, and they're writing on the wall. And I just immediately had that trauma response. I was just like, what the hell? And we've already talked about this a million times. And I remember going, girls, I will be right back. You stay right there. And I was gritting my teeth. I thought I was going to break them. I went on the porch, and then I went, it's not the worst thing in the world. They're far better children than I was.
Yeah.
Everything can be painted over. It's not that big of a deal. And then I took one last cleansing breath, and I walked into the same situation. Yeah. Same exact situation, calm. And I said, girls, you're not supposed to write on the walls. You know this. Go get stuff and clean it up. And don't do it anymore. And what's amazing was that nothing changed except for me. And I no longer felt like things going to happen. And that's beautiful, because ever since then, it's just like I have these things where my immediate, My old amygdaloid would be just like, get mad, get angry, say horrible stuff. And it's just like, no, that's not going to help anything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to be a person that has to say things that I can't take back, do things that I can't take back. And the worst possible thing you can ever have as a parent is when your kids mimic you and you're freaking... So, you know, when my oldest would bark at the little, well, why are you doing that? You should really speak calmer. It's like, well, learn it from you, Dad, right?
Yeah, and then it's F-bombs.
Right. Oh, no. Yeah, hopefully.
But he doesn't use F-bombs.
No. So, yeah, the situation didn't change. I changed, and my hormones changed, and my physiology changed, and I rewired my brain. So the next time it happened, it was just like, come on, girls. We're not supposed to be like that. Yeah. And suddenly, I got to be this person that I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I got to model for them how I want them to be in the same situation.
So if I may interject and piggyback on that.
Yes.
This is wise mind. This is the wise mind. This is the wisdom.
Right. Yeah.
Because you took a moment to become grounded with the breath. That does change your physiology, as you know. You're the doctor. You're feeling grounded, more relaxed. Like I said, nothing changed but me. But then you open yourself. I mean, still experiencing my emotions, but then I'm also letting my reason come in.
Yeah.
And I'm also paying attention to what I value.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm also paying attention to like my intuition. And that's that moment where we naturally turn toward like what's truly nourishing, good, etc. Not only for you, but for your kids, because you're thinking, yeah, this is not me. One, I don't want to be miserable. I'm being miserable right now. And I don't want them to learn how to be miserable from me.
Right.
Yeah. Good for you.
Well, thank you.
That's practice. That's mindfulness in action.
Although my oldest daughter still brings up the time I barked at her like 5 years ago. But I'm like, but the last 5 years, I've been just cool hand Luke.
Come on, honey, give Dad a break.
Like, come on, I'm a new person. So, yeah, you know, you guys have any questions, feel free to post them. There's a lot of people that joined. And
hi, everybody.
Please share this with your friends and like it. I'm so glad to have Scott here.
I'm glad
and we have about 10 more minutes. And kind of, so one thing I want to touch on too was the idea of, so that being fully present, right?
Okay.
To where I'm in a situation, how do I stay grounded in this situation? And so the same thing with like, how do you apply that to like things like eating or other things that you might see more important with a patient? And you know, like I've been eating super healthy, like crazy healthy, for almost 6 months now, right?
Right.
Which is not what I was doing before.
Right.
And so, like even today, I was getting stuff, and I was kind of stressed. I have to fill out all these forms. It's a whole mess, and resulting from the divorce. And I had to go to Walmart, and I got stuff, and I was looking. They didn't have any sushi. They didn't have any like healthy things for me to quickly grab. That I wanted.
You didn't get the ho-hos, did you?
No. And then I was sitting there staring. I was like, well, I haven't had, you know, kung pao chicken in a long time, and maybe I could just eat this. And I remember just kind of sitting there and just like, no, I don't like how that makes me feel. That's not who I am anymore.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
And so I think like with patients that they finally have to become that person. And that transition of like going from who I used to be to who I am now, and how I think about things is totally different. Like that memory of that comes in like, oh, I should drink soda and eat crap.
Right.
But my then frontal lobe seems like it's just overdeveloped now, where it's just like
overdeveloped frontal lobe.
I could do that, but I wouldn't like the outcome.
Yeah, and that's wisdom. That's wisdom. Absolutely. And again, like you were saying earlier, like we don't have to have like this enormous, immediately life-threatening behaviors that we want to change. But you know, when we bring presence to, for instance, you know, with food, we're talking about food, and I had brought along a little.
You brought a whole stack of research in here.
Yeah, well, we're not going to get to that. I always over-research. This comes from a group called the Center for Mindful Eating, and they talk about what mindful eating is, someone who eats mindfully. Mindful eating is basically allowing yourself to become aware of the positive and nurturing opportunities that are available through food, preparation even, and consumption by respecting your own inner wisdom.
Nice.
I
like
wise
that.
mind eating. Choosing to eat food is both pleasing to you and nourishing to your body.
Yeah.
So
So not eating out of trauma, not eating out of comfort,
eating.
reaction.
Yeah.
I want to eat so I feel healthy and happy.
Yeah.
I like
acknowledge your responses to food. What you like, what you're kind of for, it's okay, things I dislike. You're not going to like everything. And doing it without judgment. It's like, I don't really prefer, I'm trying to think of a food I don't prefer because I like a lot of food.
Yeah.
You like a lot of food too, don't you? I'm trying to think. There's surely something I dislike. McDonald's. We're not going to get sued for saying that on this video, are we?
Screw McDonald's.
Because we know somebody from McDonald's is watching.
That's right.
As is Mary Oliver, whose poetry we quoted earlier. And, but someone who eats mindfully, just a few little tidbits here, I won't read the whole list, but someone who eats mindfully acknowledges that there is no right or wrong way to eat, but varying degrees of awareness surrounding the experience of food. Yeah. Also, that this person who eats mindfully is aware of and reflects on the effects caused by unmindful eating. I'm getting a box of ho-hos. I'm ordering the 2 large pizzas. As with my habit. And it's boredom or it's emotional eating, and that's definitely something that was kind of, sorry, family. But yeah, it was kind of something we would do to regulate emotions at the eating thing.
Well, everybody.
So I think everybody in America probably has an eating disorder up to some point in their life, just because we're so bipolar on how we approach it, and we're so diet crazy and all that kind of thing. We don't know how to relate healthily to food.
Right. I love that simplicity because you look at the healthiest, happiest, longest living populations.
Yeah.
It's not complicated.
That's right.
They just eat real food.
Mm-hmm.
They eat to where they're not hungry anymore instead of being full. But they're very mindful about the whole process. Yeah. Where we're all gimmicks. We're like, well, you got to eat this before that, and you got to eat so much of this with that. But if you're out in the woods, you wouldn't be doing that. You would just be eating food.
We're going to do the special Tarzan Wichita Paleo post-carb overdose diet.
Keto. Got their keto in there now.
Keto something.
The Keto Atkins Paleo Extreme.
Get keto in Kansas. Extreme. Ultimate extreme.
Ultimate extreme.
Ultimate extreme.
Flavor blasted.
Totally flavor blasted. If it wasn't flavor blasted, what would be the point?
Yeah.
Right. This yogi tea is very good, by the way.
That's paying homage to someone, I think. And you're missing something tonight, aren't you?
I'm missing Tuesday night yoga at the Pyramid to come out and do this with you tonight. Yeah.
So you do meditation on Thursday, right? At the Pyramids, yeah.
There is a Thursday program. I wish I had brought Connie's material for retreat to joy, maybe like afterwards after the videos.
Because that's about trauma too. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a series coming up soon that's about mindfulness and unresolved trauma. It's kind of a mini series, I think, and I can once this is archived under the comment section, I can post some links.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, if folks are interested in finding out about it, I could do that.
Yeah.
And some other just local events that are mindfulness oriented and related, and meditation opportunities over at Confluence Center too, and what Phil's doing over there. Yeah. There's Illuminate ICT that meets over there, as well as we have a Wise Mind gathering there.
Is that part of the Illuminati? Is that part of the Illuminati?
I don't get that vibe from this group, but that's a very good question. Now, speaking of like diet and stuff like that, this is one of the things I'm interested in. Continue to. I'm glad we're friends, just because you are a cool guy and you're smart and fun, and because of what you do, and we have another friend, Dr. Ola, does the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to get my consult with you guys on diet stuff, or be able to refer patients to you, because I think that's an important part of folks' mental health recovery. It's not really being addressed,
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. So
Ola Burr, where's she? We need to have her on the show sometime.
Yeah, you'll just have to have it on a non-Tuesday.
Yeah.
Or pre-record.
Because she's doing Kundalini.
She's teaching the Kundalini yoga right now as we speak.
Kundalini.
Kundalini with the marinara.
Hey, that sounds like Italian. Yeah.
Hey.
I like that. Kundalini with the marinara.
Good. Sorry, told my Italian American friends. Okay.
That's racist.
Let's not go there. So yeah, but you know we need to more information is important in terms of helping us to make wiser decisions. And one of the big challenges that people face, I don't know if you can, maybe you commented on it before in other shows, so and not to try to make this my show interviewing you, but a question for you, Doctor, is do you have some quick tips for folks that want to eat healthy but kind of have a restricted budget? Because this is something some folks run into, is like to eat fresh, good food.
Right.
I really can't afford it. Economically, in the short run, makes more sense for me to get canned food and microwave dinners.
All right. So.
Oh, wow.
Holy.
Diana's got some serious questions.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jenny, yeah. Okay.
So.
And we can shelve my question.
No, that's a great question.
Okay, let's do that question.
That's a great question. So you get this a lot, and that's if you don't do the gimmick stuff, right? So I have been, since the divorce, right? I have been pretty freaking poor, and so I have had to really like, how am I going to eat healthy, and still spend very, very little money on food? And so this whole summer I posted my food, and I've kept it very simple, and I eat crazy dirt cheap.
Wow.
And so I will eat and once you eat real food, you'll eat dramatically less. That's
true.
First thing.
That's true.
If you eat lots of fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds, I mean, you will eat very little food overall. And so then you save money on bulk, because a big chunk of what people eat per week, like I would have one of those hand baskets with like 8 things in there for the week. Mm-hmm. And then someone else have a big giant shopping cart just packed full for a week.
Pizzas
but they're just eating crap, and they're eating until they're full all the time. So they're eating like 75% too much food.
Yeah.
And so I was very surprised just by myself in my little experiment, or my forced experiment, if you will.
The challenge that you rose to.
Yeah.
Or to which you rose.
Eating healthy through financial annihilation.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
So. Yeah. So no, it was actually, I've eaten very, very cheap. And there's always like, you know, I make a 3-bean chili that costs like $3 but lasts a whole week. I made tabbouleh. I made I ate that today, and I don't know, it's probably like $2 or maybe $3, and I'll eat for 3 or 4 days on there.
Right.
You know, and so if I make like a thing of like quinoa, that'll be several days, but I can't do that because my food sensitivities. Okay. What else? I like you'll see on the pictures I post. I buy bulks of I make kind of bulks of meals, and then they're crazy cheap. And if you look at the healthiest, happiest kind of places where people want to go visit, they eat dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you think about poor countries, they eat super flavorful food. It's they eat lots of brown rice or black rice, red rice, lots of beans, and those are dirt stinking cheap, and then lots of spices.
Right.
And so they eat some of the most flavorful food, but it's dirt cheap.
Yeah.
And so, and I
did that. Sorry, everybody.
It was a Crystal Coleman, but it was that sriracha veganese.
Oh, great.
And even the Chipotle veganese. And then just, I do 2 cans of chickpeas, diced up celery, carrots, and onions, and then mix in some of the Chipotle veganese, and holy crap, that is so fantastic. Yeah. And that becomes a meal for several days.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned black rice, because I did go to Sprouts and I picked up some bulk black rice. Nice. And a big bulk bag full of like all kinds of mixed beans and lentils.
Yeah.
Can't wait to throw it in the pot.
Yeah, no, that's crazy healthy.
Yeah. So we have Diana asks or poses. I think it's a question/demand. Just teasing.
It feels like it's a demand.
I'm teasing you a little bit, Diana.
Diana's like demanding stuff.
Yeah, but she says something to the effect of how to change mental habits.
Mindfulness.
Yep, we're done. Close the show. Bye. Good night. You're welcome, Diana.
Yoga. It's all done. It's all done.
We're there, people. We're finished products now. Okay. In all seriousness, Diana, some ways that we can practice changing mental habits is to practice something that, like, if I were to give you a kind of an approach that we use in dialectical behavior therapy, which is great for everybody to practice, and that's simply by starting by observing what's happening with you in a given moment, noticing your thoughts, and that's it, without evaluating them, without judging them, without saying, oh man, that's a crazy thought, or that's great, or that's bad, or if for some reason I had, maybe I had a beef with Patrick, maybe he did something. Of course, we don't have a beef, but that's why we can do this.
We should, and then we'll squash the beef.
And we squashed the beef. I don't know what that means. It sounds like something. Jenny's going to make a button.
Blue waffle.
Oh, no, he did the
Blue waffle.
No.
Just like that. Blue waffle.
Jenny's throwing it up out there.
Gang-related.
Sunshine Mafia,
Mindful beef.
etc. Yeah. Okay, but see, I knew this was going to happen, but this is fun. Okay. But you basically, it's, I'll tell you what, I'm going to try an experiment with Patrick to demonstrate this for you, Diana, okay? We're going to utilize this lovely little item here, and I'm going to ask Patrick to describe it to all of us. What is this, Patrick?
It's a purple teacup with some kind of print on it.
Purple teacup with some kind of print on it? Yep, it is some kind of print. Tell us more about what you see. What else do you see here? Just describe this little cup to us.
So it's a ceramic cup with a shiny paint job.
Okay.
With a tea bag in it, and a little bit of tea.
A little bit of tea. What's its shape?
Cylinder.
Good. I thought I was going to say cup shape. Cylindrical. I like cylindrical. Yeah. So it's like a cylinder. Okay. Great. Now, since we're on live feed here, I'll try to soften a little bit. But is this cup a jerk?
That cup's a piece of crap, and it hurts my feelings.
All right.
So
well,
no.
But thank you for your open honesty and your relationship with this poor cup.
That cup killed my mom.
I'm taking this cup into protective custody tonight.
So no.
So it's not a jerk.
No, it's just a cup.
It's just a cup.
Right.
Okay. So Diana, if this is making any sense at all, I keep knocking everything around. Basically, maybe now he's doing it. It's earthquake. It's so moving over here. Start this program. But we do this with our thoughts. Basically, that we say to ourselves, I notice that I'm judging Patrick. He does something that I find discomforting, irritating, or whatever. It doesn't really mean the problem is Patrick. It's my emotional reaction that comes in part with my thought process and the way that I'm judging and reacting to him. And so I can literally say to myself, as I'm, I can say it quietly so people don't think I'm talking to myself and that bothers them, I really would say, I observe that I have a judgment about Patrick. I notice I don't like this cup. That's a thought that I'm having. I say this to this is what we're saying to ourselves. Or some people really boil it down to thinking. That's it. And as we practice paying attention to our thoughts that way, and there's other exercises where we're paying attention to what's happening with me emotionally, really saying, like in a given moment, I notice that I feel anxious. I observe anger. Feeling fearful, a little anxious, whatever it is. But I'm simply labeling it in a non-dramatic, as traditionally journalistic way possible, a detective, if you will, just the facts, man. I'm not going to embellish this. Like, oh man, I am so mad at Patrick. He is so effing terrible that I need to go F and tell him X, Y, Z, and I'm justified to behave poorly to him for whatever reason, because of the way I'm judging him. And in which case I'm miserable and suffering. I hope this is making sense. But when we sit and do breathing meditation, this is a lot of what we're doing. We're just sitting, we're closing our eyes, we're just simply breathing and following the breath. And as we do that, thoughts pop up. And we just simply go, okay, there's that thought. Thinking about dinner, okay. I come back to my breath. Thinking about mom, okay, that's great. Love mom, but right now I'm just going to come back to breath. And I repeat that over and over again during the meditation practice. And the thoughts are not a problem, because my job is not to push them away or to push away an emotion. It's simply to acknowledge it. It's there. Here's the cup. There are the clouds in the sky. I don't have to get caught up in them or try to travel with them, if that makes sense. to make sense to you.
Right.
I hope the way I'm describing it to all of you is helpful in some way. And then again, then we have to practice it like kind of on the go. When you're driving in your car, it's a great place to practice changing mental habits. Especially if you are like me and you really believe you are the only good driver on the road. Of course. Which I've been driving a car lately, which has been really weird. So I don't think I really am the best driver on the road right now. So I'm kind of learning that again after bicycling so much. But when we're driving, we have these reactions to, we judge the way people are driving, and it's so reactive. It's just constant. It's the water. We were talking about this earlier. This is water. We don't question it. But here, this is your opportunity. Maybe I drive with the radio turned down. I'm not on my phone at all. And as I'm driving, I'm just going to use this as a meditation and just pay attention to like, oh, look at that jerk. And he just turned without using a signal. That is unjust and terrible. You know, or somebody drives fast and cuts us off. Maybe we all suddenly have the urge to like, I'm going to chase that guy down and tell him that he shouldn't be driving like that. And then whatever ensues. But we can catch that and kind of go, phew, isn't that interesting? I want to chase this person down and tell him what's what. I am the driver's justice system. So I need to be the one to go tell him, no, I don't need to do that. So
you're going to right the wrongs of the world.
I'm going to right the wrongs. You should use your turn signal when you're changing lanes. And when you don't, it's a big, awful catastrophe. So anyway, but those are small things that we can do. Practicing, and also just really noticing, particularly the way that we are reactively and almost constantly evaluating and judging people. Oh, I can't believe they wear that. Oh, I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm too poor, I wish I had more money, I'm not acceptable to people, or that person shouldn't be here, and that lady shouldn't, let her kid wear that to the grocery store or whatever. And we're just constantly doing that. And that way our attention's fractured, and then we add into that things that maybe we're doing while we're waiting in the grocery store. Maybe we're on our cell phone, looking at Facebook. So we're not even present, we're not inhabiting our own bodies even. And so this is another part of mindfulness is with the breath and the meditation practices like yoga. It's remembering we have bodies, we are bodies, we live in bodies. So we use that breath, well, let's live here, let's be present. And then we can decide again, how do we, we can see people differently, like you did with the daughters. I'll go back, take a breath. I'm going to let go of all my preconceptions. I'm going to let go of all my assumptions, all my hopes for a perfect wall and girls that don't make messes. I'm just going to let all that go. And then, you know what? And everything's fine. No. But anyway, I hope those are helpful. And there's also, and there's materials out there too. I can post some links to the comments too on. Yeah.
Well, we should have you on again too.
I'd love to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got to tell you, so I had a friend that, I had the annihilation of the marriage, and then it's just like I felt really good, and then I had a really good friend, and then things got weird with that friend, and I remember they said something, did something to hurt my feelings, and I was like, okay, I'm aware of this, like I'm very frustrated, and I remember texting you about it, and you said, lean into it. Like that's all you said was lean into it. And I remember thinking, I want to be mad, I want to be angry about this, I want to be frustrated, but I was just like, no, you know what? They're a person, I'm a person. Yeah. I'll just accept that this is this is their truth, or this is just the way things maybe are.
Right. Yeah.
But it's funny because you said that, and I was just like, what the hell? Sorry. Yeah. And then it was going in my head, like, just lean into it. What does that mean? What does that mean? And it kind of brought me back to that mindful place of just, the walking in the waves and not trying to push the waves down, but just going with the waves. Yeah. And knowing, it changes you, it's moving you. You can't stop the waves, but you can stop trying to force the waves to react the way you want.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't force peace.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I posted that one picture I love where it has the guy, maybe a girl, with the rope wrapped around, and it's just pulling and tearing at him. And then they show him letting go, and it talks about often letting go is so much causes so much less pain than holding on to things that are toxic. Yeah. And so really, I mean, like Diana, the same thing. Like, how much of what we do is holding on to toxic stuff, trying to right the wrongs of the world, when that's not our job. They're not our monkeys. They're not our circus. Yeah. If people are crazy, just like, well, good luck with that. I can only be myself and only be happy for me. Right. That's all. So. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Patrick, thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah. We'll have Scott on again, and we'll do some interactive role playing.
Sure. And maybe next time
Yeah.
we'll share a bowl.
What's her name? Is it a girl?
I don't have a name for the bowl.
I thought you had a name for it. Can you make it sing?
My bike is named Serenity. Maybe that's what you're thinking of.
I like that you posted one time that you had in a new relationship on Facebook,
Yeah.
and it was you and your bike.
That's right.
I was like, that's awesome.
That's my sweetie.
All right, so we're going to listen to it sing. I love it. I do that with wine glasses.
Oh, yeah.
So when we have meditation, Scott tries to ring his bowl, and he never does this, which I always want him to do. You always gong it. Is that got an official name, gonging it?
I call it our invitation to meditation.
And you know, that Pavlovian dog technique of like, if you do that every time, your brain chemistry will change when you hear that sound. And so one thing before we go, I do want to say this.
Yeah.
Because I think it's the fallacy of when you meditate, like if you know how to meditate, it's like you're knowing what you're doing. Hey, there's Melissa.
Hi, Melissa.
So, yeah, it is soothing. I really like it. But when people try meditation, they usually think I'm failing because the whole time I thought, when I was meditating with you guys, I was like, everybody else looks like they got it figured out.
Oh, yeah.
And my brain is just going crazy, and I'm like, squirrel, 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 squirrel. How am I going to do this? I got to do laundry. How am I going to, And then I think it was after a few weeks that it was like, oh, everybody's struggling with that. And so it's not about being perfect. It's about have an emotion or a feeling, but then pull it back and refocus and refocus. And it's, can you be fully present with distractions is what it felt like to me.
Interesting. Yeah. Again, I think that's part of the deal is, there are some days, I know for myself when I'm at the Wichita Treatment Center at the Methadone Clinic, it can be pretty intense there with patients and other demands of the job. And there are days, I had one last week, in fact, where it was just a difficult week because we had some folks happen to death in the family, so we were sick, and we're kind of a small crew anyway, so we really, and other folks been through it with it when my father had a heart attack a couple weeks ago, and I was gone. And anyway, just one day I was just like, this is as present as I can be. And I really just didn't have like extra compassion. I didn't have a drive that I normally do, and I just went into acceptance. This is it. Yeah. In fact, there are moments where I feel irritated, and that's all. I feel irritated. Yeah. I don't have ponies and sunshine for everybody today. I just have irritated Scott.
But you're the guru.
And this is what you get.
Don't you have it all figured out?
But this is part of figuring it out. It's okay to be irritated, but I don't mistreat people because I'm feeling irritated.
That's right.
And I'm not holding on to it. I'm just simply noticing that's where it's going to come and go. But that's just where I'm at right now. So I don't have to be upset and kind of go, oh gosh darn it, I'm irritated. I'm such a lousy mindfulness teacher or practitioner. No, I'm a human being, and I was exhausted. There are all these other physical vulnerabilities. Probably need some food. I was probably over caffeinated on coffee. All kinds of stuff happening there. And then I can go back to the Scott I think most people are used to.
I like that because that's like what Diane's kind of talking about too. Is just like there's sometimes you're like, this is all I got today, and I'm okay with that. But it doesn't mean I'm a shitty person. It doesn't mean that I'm failing. Yeah. We all have our times where we're just we're done.
I really like Jenny's comment she made up here. Hey, and Amy Sheldon is here. Hi, Amy. And but Jenny, awesome explanation. Thank you. Be the watcher at the castle gate. You're just you're vigilant, watching what's happening in the mind, what's happening in the heart. Movements, for me, we also do like learn movements of the soul that are happening. And I'm just aware of that. And I'm not really trying to control, what it is that I see. And I'm not pushing away anything, and I'm not holding on to anything. Yeah. I'm just sort of like another gal, remember Lelania, no, you weren't there. She just talked about being in a tough situation that she's in. And she just talked about how she's just like deciding to just kind of like be like kind of like a cliff or a stone near a beach where the water's just crashing over her, and then it just recedes. That's all she can do right now with a particular situation. So, and I thought, oh yeah, that's it right there. And sometimes people become frustrated with, even when they're trying to do sitting meditation, because they find themselves being preoccupied with, oh, that guy looked at me, like, what? You think I'm a punk? Or, get the hyper-masculine thing going. Not me, of course. It'd probably be more like Mr. Gunny over here. So, around with testosterone and stuff. Just kidding. But we get those sort of thoughts, or, somebody didn't return my call, or somebody didn't meet me for coffee, or they were late. And then we're thinking about while we're meditating. And there's the squirrels.
Right.
And then what we do is we just make them part of the meditation. We just say, oh, isn't that interesting? This is my habit or thought. And this is what's happening right now. Okay. And I try not to be reactive and upset about that,
Yeah.
And I'm just noticing, and that takes practice, And so we also bring to those practices a compassion for self and patience, and just realize, what, I'm doing the work, right? This is the workout right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so as we end here, thank you guys for joining. We'll have Scott on again. We'll have part B. And then we might, I don't even see if Suzanne was on here, but we'll have her on here too. She has a story to tell about lifestyle changes too, which, really changed her life.
Remember, it's going to be the life-changing changes that change your life, right? Was that the idea?
Ultimate
extreme changes that ultimately extremely changed your life.
I like it.
Okay.
So, and if you guys have more topics that you want to hear about, let me know. Just feel free to Facebook. I'll answer the questions at the end too. Please share this. I really appreciate you guys for joining us. And I'd like to hear your kind of comments or questions about meditation, mindfulness. How would it apply with you? And maybe that'll give us some good questions for the next time we have Scott on too. Yeah. So we can kind of clear those things up.
Kind of hit your interest.
Yeah, because I was like barely over the surface when I talk about meditation, mindfulness with patients, and I'm always, you got to do it. But holy crap, that annihilation changed my life. That, what's water, that box of darkness, those concepts radically changed me to become a completely different person and really value, because I really was a good person. It was just like someone craps on you all the time, you just kind of believe like, well, I'm just a piece of crap and I should just eat myself to happiness. And that never happens. I play video games and distract. Like, I haven't played any video games since I got divorced. I used to play it all the time, and I used to go to the movies all the time because that was my distraction.
Oh, yeah.
That was my life sucks. I can't handle this. I can't change anything. I just got to stick it out, and I'll just try to cope with these unhealthy coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
And it's amazingly free to be mindful. It's amazingly joyful to be mindful. It really is. And I don't think I could have explained it to myself before the annihilation. I really don't. Yeah. So if you guys are suffering, this is something you really want to, maybe we'll try to post some resources and stuff, but and also the mindful classes around town. So, all right.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Be mindful out there.
Be mindful out there, and don't cut him off when you're driving.
Justice.
And don't listen to my brother. You know that one?
Yeah, don't listen to my brother. Wichita, sure.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Bye-bye.